Hyperfocus is the silent blade you never noticed sharpening in your hands. It waits in the shadows, unclaimed, underestimated, dismissed by those who never understood your mind. They saw distraction, not direction. They saw noise, not navigation. They saw chaos, not creation. Yet beneath every unfinished task and every restless hour, a hidden engine kept humming, waiting for ignition. This part of you is not a flaw. It is a weapon forged in storms. It is the force that rises when everything else collapses, the fire that refuses to die when the world grows cold. ADHD minds move like storms, fast, fluid, relentless. You do not drift through life. You crash into it, reshaping directions that others thought permanent. Your thoughts leap across timelines. Your emotions thunder through your chest. Your intentions stretch farther than your reach because you want everything at once. Yet people blame you for speed. They cannot match. They call your intensity excessive. They call your rhythm unstable. They call your effort inconsistent. They never see the engine beneath your chaos, because they never learned to survive a storm like you did. But you survived today. You have spent years believing your mind was the problem, years believing your pace was a flaw, your energy a mistake, your ambition a burden. You carry guilt for unfinished projects. You carry shame for late starts. You carry fear that your potential will always slip from your hands. Yet within that struggle lies your greatest gift. Hyperfocus does not appear on calm days. It arrives when something hooks your soul. It arrives when curiosity snaps awake. It arrives when the world underestimates you one time too many. Hyperfocus is not random. Hyperfocus is rebellion. Your mind does not wander aimlessly. It scans, it searches, it hunts for meaning with the precision of a predator that refuses to waste energy on empty paths. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are built different. You do not chase every task, because your brain saves its fire for what matters. That is not failure. That is strategy written into your biology. When focus hits it, it hits with the force of a collapsing star. Everything narrows, everything sharpens, everything becomes one unbroken line of purpose that cannot be interrupted by noise. Hyperfocus is the moment your storm aligns. The racing thoughts become electricity. The restless energy becomes fuel. The scattered ideas lock into a single unstoppable current that tears through distraction like a blade through silk. This is your hidden power. The one you never learned to trust because no one taught you how to hold it. They told you to calm down instead of control the storm. They told you to slow down instead of aim the fire. They told you to be less when your design was always meant to be more for you. You grew up thinking your storm was a curse. Teachers misunderstood you. Friends misread you. Family members wondered why you could not follow simple routines even though your mind could build entire universes overnight. You felt slow and fast at the same time. You felt powerful and powerless at once. You felt like you were running toward everything and away from everything in the same breath. That confusion carved scars you still carry. Yet those scars taught you to endure chaos. They taught you to operate under pressure. They taught you to navigate noise today. The world never saw your training. They did not see the nights when your mind refused to shut down. They did not see the mornings when you carried every unfinished plan like a weight strapped to your rib. They did not see the pressure storms that turned small mistakes into emotional avalanches. Yet you kept moving. You kept working. You kept rising through turbulence that would have crushed calmer personalities. Hyperfocus was always your survival instinct. It activated when collapse felt close. It activated when meaning called your name. It activated when your spirit today. Hyperfocus is not accidental. It is the convergence of emotion, meaning and momentum. It is the moment your brain stops fighting itself and starts firing in one direction with dangerous precision. You have tasted this state. Hours disappear. Noise fades, time bends. You become a different creature, one built for impact. This version of you is not weak. This version of you is not scattered. This version of you carries a clarity that feels almost supernatural. The world fears people like this because they cannot predict you when you lock onto a target with unshakable. There is a reason your breakthroughs feel explosive. Your mind gathers momentum silently, storing creative voltage until one spark sets everything in motion. This is why traditional systems fail you. They were designed for linear thinkers who move step by predictable step. You are nonlinear. You leap. You ignite. You collapse limits that others tiptoe around. Hyperfocus is the proof. When you enter that state, you operate on a level that cannot be taught, only triggered. The world thinks you lack discipline, but discipline is not your missing piece. Your missing piece is alignment today, and alignment begins here. You must stop fighting the nature of your mind. You must stop treating your speed as danger. You must stop apologizing for intensity that was placed inside you for a reason that will reveal itself through action, not hesitation. Your storm was never meant to be caged. It was meant to be trained. Hyperfocus is your first key. The moment you learn to direct it instead of waiting for it, your entire life shifts. This is where the transformation begins. This is where you rise. This is where you prepare today. Hyperfocus shifts the battlefield inside you. It sharpens the edges of intention. It hardens your mind against doubt. It turns scattered energy into precision. Part 2 deepens that transformation. You stand at the threshold of control. Your storm begins to obey command. The chaos becomes structured fire. The noise becomes strategic pressure. The guilt begins losing its grip. ADHD guilt is a familiar wound. It whispers that you fail consistency. It claims you lack discipline. It convinces you that effort collapses. That voice is a liar. It was built through misunderstanding. You lived under constant misjudgment. Every mistake felt amplified painfully. Every delay felt like weakness. Every unfinished idea felt shameful. But shame never told the truth. Shame distorted your reflection deeply. Shame erased your strengths unfairly. Shame silenced your brilliance quietly. Yet hyperfocus cuts through distortion. It shows your real capability. It proves intensity is intelligence. It reveals depth beneath disorder. You think in rapid layers. You process patterns faster naturally. You connect ideas unconventionally. You feel emotions intensely. These traits create powerful vision. They generate relentless creativity. They build unconventional mastery. Hyperfocus is your peak expression. It is your mind unchained. It is clarity without friction. It is momentum without resistance. It is purpose without hesitation. When that state activates, everything changes. Tasks feel meaningful suddenly. Steps flow effortlessly forward. Time ceases to interrupt action. You move like a weapon rising. You pursue goals with precision. You outperform expectations quietly. You produce results shockingly fast. People underestimate these moments. They assume you got lucky. They assume you discovered shortcuts. They assume you finally behaved. They never understand the truth. You were always capable. You were simply misaligned before. ADHD minds require meaningful triggers. They require emotional connection. They require purpose shaped clearly. They require environments supporting momentum. Traditional systems ignore these needs. They force rigid rituals blindly. They punish nonlinear thinkers harshly. They reward predictable patterns stubbornly. But your strength is divergence. Your power is unconventional thinking. Your rise comes from difference. Hyperfocus becomes your rebellion silently. It becomes your internal revolution. You transform frustration into energy. You transform doubt into direction. You transform chaos into strategy. Each transform chaos into strategy. Each transform chaos into strategy. Each transform chaos into strategy. You begin trusting your mind. You begin honoring your rhythm. You begin mastering your fire. Mastery begins with awareness. Awareness stabilizes your storm. Awareness rebuilds your confidence. Awareness destroys internal narratives. You stop seeing brokenness. You start seeing brilliance. You reject outdated standards. You embrace personal systems. You discover psychological leverage. That leverage is rhythm management. That leverage is emotional mapping. That leverage is energy tracking. These tools redirect hyperfocus consistently. They convert storms into engines. They convert restlessness into drive. They convert intensity into advantage. You rise through intentional alignment. You build structure around sensitivity. You protect energy fiercely. You guard meaning carefully. You treat focus like currency. You invest attention strategically. You withdraw from draining environments. You minimize friction deliberately. These habits reshape identity. They form your internal armor. They stabilize your emotional core. They shield your mind effectively. ADHD sensitivity becomes radar. It detects lies quickly. It senses tension immediately. It reads people effortlessly. This radar strengthens intuition. Intuition guides hyperfocus. Intuition sharpens strategy. Intuition accelerates growth. These combined traits create uniqueness. They turn you into anomaly. An anomaly with purpose rising. The world never prepared for this. It expected compliance reluctantly. It expected silence unfairly. It expected surrender quietly. But alignment changes everything. You stop shrinking internally. You stop apologizing unnecessarily. You stop doubting instinctively. You rise with intention. You rise with pressure. You rise with clarity. Hyperfocus fuels this ascension. It becomes your hidden discipline. It becomes your secret training. It becomes your internal weapon. Now the storm follows command. Your transformation accelerates with discipline. Discipline becomes internal alignment practice. Alignment reduces resistance dramatically. Resistance fades under strategic intention. Intention channels your emotional storm. Those storms fuel creative precision. Precision grows through daily repetition. Repetition strengthens neural consistency. Consistency reshapes behavioral momentum. Momentum amplifies every focused effort. Effort becomes identity through action. Action reshapes destiny for you. Destiny bends toward disciplined storms. Your storm becomes your throne. You rise higher when meaning anchors your focus. This anchored state strengthens every storm within you. Your mind becomes a disciplined force moving deliberately upward. Hyperfocus is not only a mental state, it is an identity shift. It is the moment your mind stops scattering outward and begins collapsing inward, forming a single blazing point of intention. In this final part, you ascend from understanding to mastery. You step into the version of yourself that no longer fears the storm. You command it, you use it, you weaponize it. You become the architect of your own focus, instead of the victim of your own cycles. Every ADHD mind carries two versions of the self: the scattered self and the sharpened self, the drifting mind and the directed mind, the restless wanderer and the relentless hunter. You have lived most of your life trapped between these two extremes. You swing between explosive momentum and choking stagnation, between unstoppable productivity and painful paralysis, between fierce intention and brutal self-digging disappointment. These swings made you believe you were inconsistent, but inconsistency is not your truth. Misalignment is. When hyperfocus arrives, it arrives like revelation. Suddenly your brain stops drowning in noise. Suddenly every distraction falls silent. Suddenly you remember what you are capable of. That moment is not luck. It is not randomness. It is your brain finally getting the conditions it was designed for, but rarely given purpose. Emotion, challenge, pressure. These forces unlock the core of your wiring. They activate circuits that normal minds will never experience. They turn your attention into a blade, and your intention into a force that can cut through any barrier placed in your path. This power explains why ADHD people build businesses rapidly, why they master skills in weeks, why they produce creative breakthroughs unmatched by peers. But it also explains why they collapse when meaning fades. You cannot operate on low voltage intention. You require intensity to activate direction. You require emotional weight to fuel your fire. You require challenge to awaken your full intelligence. This is not a curse. This is the design of a different nervous system. A nervous system meant for extreme. A nervous system evolved for survival, innovation, and high-pressure environments where others freeze. But now comes the final shift. Learning to trigger hyperfocus on purpose. This is where your power multiplies. This is where your identity changes permanently. This is where you stop waiting for ideal conditions and begin creating them. You do this through 3 psychological transformation strategies that reshape the entire battlefield of your mind. The first strategy is emotional anchoring. Hyperfocus requires emotional ignition. Without emotion, your brain flatlines. But when meaning enters the picture, your entire system lights up. Emotional anchoring means tying your tasks to identity, purpose, or personal stakes. You do not say, "I need to finish this." You say, "Finishing this moves me closer to who I am becoming." Identity fuels intensity. Intensity fuels hyperfocus. The task becomes emotionally charged. The storm wakes up. The engine roars. The second strategy is friction removal. ADHD minds are not afraid of work. They are allergic to unnecessary friction. Tiny obstacles feel massive. Small steps feel impossible, but when friction disappears, momentum explodes. You simplify your starting point. You reduce decisions. You lower activation energy. You remove everything that creates microscopic resistance. Hyperfocus thrives in smooth environments. And when your mind meets a frictionless path, your entire system locks in harder, faster, and with more force than most people can comprehend. The third strategy is pressure calibration. Hyperfocus thrives under stakes, not stress. Stakes. There must be a reason to move, a direction that matters, a timeline that pushes you without suffocating you. You learn to create micro-stakes that awaken urgency, deadlines, self-promises, mini-challenges, time blocks. These controlled pressures turn your storm into a precise engine, not chaotic, not destructive, directed, measured, intentional. This transforms your mind from a wildfire into a laser. These 3 strategies turn hyperfocus from an accident into a tool. They give you control over the storm. They help you aim your intensity instead of drowning in it. They remind you that you are not lazy, you are not slow, you are not unreliable. You were built different. Your mind is a forge. Your thoughts are steel. Your emotions are fuel. And your hyperfocus is the moment you become unstoppable. Your entire life begins shifting once you stop fighting the nature of your brain. You stop forcing yourself into systems designed for minds that move at half your speed. You stop judging yourself for rhythms wired into your biology. You stop apologizing for intensity that was never meant to be dimmed. You rise into alignment, and when that alignment locks in, a different version of you steps forward. A version with direction sharper than fear. A version with purpose stronger than avoidance. A version with discipline rewritten in a language only your storm understands. This is the version of you that finishes what matters, This is the version of you that builds legacies. This is the version of you that outpaces expectations. This is the version of you that remembers your potential. You do not need to become someone else. You need to become the version of yourself that Hyperfocus reveals, the one who sees patterns instantly, the one who feels meaning intensely, the one who detects lies effortlessly, the one who turns pressure into momentum, the one who rises when others retreat. The world never understood this version of you. It misread your silence. It misjudged your inconsistency. It confused your overwhelm for weakness. But your storm was never weakness. It was the fire waiting for ignition. Now the ignition is yours. Now the storm is yours. Now the direction is yours. You become a force that bends reality. You become a mind that does not wait for permission. You become a creator of pathways others cannot even imagine. Hyperfocus is not your hidden flaw. Hyperfocus is your hidden throne. When you sit on it, you stop living like a question. You start living like an answer. The answer to every doubt. The answer to every misunderstanding. The answer to every voice that claimed you were less. You rise with the storm behind you. You rise with fire beneath you. You rise with clarity, carved from every scar that once made you feel small. The world has no defense against a mind like yours once it learns to command itself. Rise into that command. Subscribe for the next transformation.